Alright, so today we're going to look at how to decide the database and then going to enter data into your Access. Now first we have to make sure our database is going to be properly decided. So auto repair customer database, that's the topic. And why we want to do this: keep track of customer billing information. Okay, that's good. Record what services are done on the car and what happened. That's good. Record the make and model of car being serviced. Now we said we want to do this three, what type of information we need to correct and how we're going to group them into its own tables. That's how we're going to create a database. We like to categorize into tables, right? And these are the fields which customer ID. Now this is going to represent your primary key. We like to have underline. Okay, so to represent primary key and first name, last name. So we have customer information under customer table, which is good. And then we have customer billing address. Okay, then we know that this customer has this address. This is going to be a foreign key, right? So we're going to italics it. So we're going to italize this, then we know this is a foreign key. That links between customer table and customer billing address, right? Then you know this customer has this address, right? Now let's look at billing address. I see, so you have the ID here. So this is going to be customer billing address ID, which is a primary key for this table. So we should name it ID, then we know this is a ID. Then you're going to link it to, I see, so now let's think about primary key again. Since this is going to be billing address, should have this as a primary key, right? Customer billing address ID to identify each record for the address. I'm going to put the underline to that. So these are primary keys. Now the question is going to come. That means this is going to be a foreign key, right? That make relationship between these two tables, right? Then you can assign one customer can have many billing addresses, right? One billing address can go to many customers too. That make many to many relationships. Street address, city, state, zip. Now, for this one, we don't see any primary key, right? I mean, it's not required, but it's recommended to have, okay? So if we want to add a primary key, we can just name, like the name of this table is billing address. So this should be a billing address ID. Okay, use the table name and put ID on it. And in this case, I should have billing address ID and make this as a foreign key instead. That make relationship to billing address. And then I'm going to turn this back to be a primary key of this table. Just to be a unique key to keep record of how many records so far. Make sense? Now, customer car. So let's look at customer car. Customer can have many cars, correct? So do you want to have customer car ID here or customer ID here, right? So think about, if customer has many cars, Then you can have customer car ID here, and I'm going to remove all the spaces. Okay. Yeah, when we designing a database, it's fine if you want to have spaces, but it's very common that we like to have no spaces. We can either use the underscore, okay, or capitalize between the words if you need a space like that. That's very common to see underscore like that. Okay. Now, come back to customer card. So customer card need a primary key. Then I'm looking at if I say customer card ID as a primary key here, then this is going to be unique to this table. Like, even when customer has two cars, they're going to have two different car ID, right? Now, are we able to take care of when customer has two cars? Yes, because we said car ID 1, customer ID could be 111, car ID is 2, customer ID can be 1111 too. So this will take care of one car can have many customers, one-to-many relationships, right? Now, we also have to think the other way around. Can one customer, we said, no, I just said, this taking care of customer can have many cars, right? One customer can have many cars. Can we do the other way around? Like, can one car has many customers? Like, normally, are we saying that one car only owned by one person name? Or just customer one service name? It can be owned by two or more, but let's think about our policy at the repair shop. We can just use one customer name, right, for many cars. But we can have one car for one customer name, right? Which is fine, right? We're not going to put two names in the same car, right? So that's why this looks fine. But if you're seeing that you want to allow to have two names in the same car, you have to do just like create a new table, like billing address like that. Otherwise, this will not work. Make sense? Now let's look at service. We have service ID, service name, and cost. So we want to know what type of service, and we want to make relationship to the car. Should service go to the car instead of go to customer ID? Like this one, you make relationship to customer ID. Like customer can have many cars, then the service should go to the cars.
So we should put like customer car ID instead.
Because you can have service to many cars in one customer, right? Then this should be customer car ID. And service ID is going to be a primary key for this table. Now we can have an order ID and a date, customer car ID, service ID. Then we know what type of order to what car, right? This is going to be your primary key here. And service ID is going to be your, what do we call key here? Foreign keys. Customer car ID also foreign keys. Then this is good. If you want to review again 2, 3 normalization forms, first, we don't want a duplicate fields and we want a primary keys on each table and we have them all primary keys and they're not going to be duplicate like we said. Primary key make it unique. One car can has one customer ID here and another car can have the same, which is still 1 and 2, right? Now second normalization form said all the keys has to depends on the primary key, like first name depends on customer ID as well as last name, which is good. Billing address depends on the billing address ID as well as customer ID. And street address depends on billing address ID, city, state, and zip too, which is good. Customer ID depends on customer car ID, car make depends on this. Because when I say customer car ID, we know right away the year of the car, car model, car make, and customer ID, right? As well as service and cost. Now, service ID depends on order ID, customer car ID depends on order ID, yes, and order date too. So we meet the first normalization and second normalization form. Now the third normalization form said that's non-key, non-key, that means these are non-keys, these are keys, primary key. Foreign key is also a key, non-key is this. This is also foreign key, so non-key is this. First name and last name, that's no keys, right? Should not depend on each other. Like last name and first name, they're not depending on each other if you look at like George Washington. We have George with different last name too. We have last name with different first name too. So they're not depending on each other. Right, so we're good. So this is non-key, street address and city, right? City can have many street address. They're not depending on each other, as well as state, right? Now let's look at this. We're checking third normal form, car make and car model. Car model and car make, are they depending on each other? No. Honda can have many models, many years too, right? So we good. Service and cost. They're not depending on each other. Why? Cost $100 can have the same, can have different service. Right? Tire change $100. Right? Oil change $100. Right? So they're not depending on each other. So we're good. Then we should be ready to create a table on access. So I'm going to show you how to do that next. So first we're going to open Access up with a blank desktop database here. And we can name it as car shop, right? Or car repair shop, right? Database. Sometimes we just like to use DB, stand for database. All right, so how to use this? Now it's just a matter of how to create the tables that we already have the tables group in place on your design sheet here. Okay. Customer table. We have table by default created when you open Access. And we want to create customer ID. Now we can save this as name customer. I'm going to capitalize this. So we have customer table created. Now we just need to add the fields. So one way, just double click on this column name and rename it to customer ID. Now for the second one, first name should be in a short text. Now we're going to name first name. Same short text for last name. All right, so we're done with the first table. Now ID we're going to leave it as default, which is it's going to be auto generated